I'd like to call the December 1st morning session meeting of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners to order. Welcome all of you who are here this morning in person and also those who are watching on our live stream. Welcome to you. As is customary for us, we will open with the invocation. I've asked Commissioner Stevens to lead us in that, and we will be led into pledge this morning by Marine Corps League Detachment 1236 of Johnston County. And before we get to that, I did want to mention the 6 board priorities. They are educational funding, infrastructure, financial stewardship, land use, public safety, and our county employees. With that, if you would, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Dear Lord, we come before you this morning after a week of Thanksgiving with hearts full of gratitude. We thank you so much, Lord, for this county, for this state, and for our country, and for the opportunity to serve the citizens of it, Lord. Please be with us as we make decisions. Please be with everyone we hear from. And we just thank you so much for another beautiful day that you've granted us. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
First and foremost, we want to thank the county for what you displayed last month for our veterans. This month, we ask that you remember every child deserves a little Christmas. Stand by. Detail. I'll take. Praise and hope. Pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Hope. Get out of here.
Thanks, Sergeant.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you. I'll never have served that without Aunt May, did you?
All right, the first order of business this morning is organization of the board, where we elect chair and vice chair. And as is customary, I will turn it over to our manager, Rick Hester, for this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each year in December, the board has their elections for office, and just have an opening for nominations, and then we'll close them. And then if it's one nomination, it'll be by acclamation, and then the chairman would handle the vice chairman. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor for chairman, nominations for chairman.
Mr. Manager, I nominate Patrick Harris to be chairman.
Second.
Anybody else? All right, we'll close the nominations, and I believe by acclamation. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I'll turn it over back to you.
All right. You'll switch seats.
Let's see let me see if the view's any different over there.
It's like official.
Yeah. The company's different.
Welcome over that side.
Now you have to
It
behave.
is different. It is different over here.
Yeah, it is. There you go.
All right. Thank you. I forgot the official part.
Before we move on with the official business, I'll ask our deputy clerk if you could bring something forward. Commissioner Lauder, we want to thank you for your, if you'll stand up here with me.
All right.
One more
I
time.
got my OCD kicked in, sorry.
I just want to say thank you for your leadership for the last 3 years, I think it has been.
3 years.
Long time.
But it's been a long time. You've done an extraordinary job. You've led the board with courage and dignity, and we appreciate that. And so I want to present you with this with sincere gratitude and appreciation, dedicated service, Johnston County Commissioner R.S. Butch Lauder, Jr., in recognition of devoted leadership as chairman from 2021 to 2025.
All right, thank you,
sir.
Here, here.
You want to get a picture? Okay.
Yeah, let's get a picture.
Let's get a picture. Fantastic. Thank you.
Y'all are a sneaky bunch. Thank y'all. It was an honor to serve as chairman, and now to be vice chairman is the equal honor. So I thank y'all, and I thank you for the memory. I got a place for it in my office at home. So
Now let me get organized, and we'll move on with the program. First, let me say thank you to the citizens of Johnston County for allowing me the opportunity just to serve on this board. It's been a privilege and an honor of my lifetime. And then now to my fellow board members for your trust in allowing me to serve as chairman for the next year, and I appreciate that very much as well. Look forward to working with you, along with all our partners, to continue moving the county forward and to stick with our board priorities that Commissioner Lauder has just outlined for us. So thank you with that. First item on the agenda is the approval and discussion of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we need to elect the vice chairman.
We had an elected vice chair. Let me stop for a second. All right, so, thank you. That's why we keep attorneys close by. I was recognizing our person, and I didn't even do it. So I need to open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, we've got any number of our board members that could adequately serve in this role. For the last several years, we've had a lot going on, and I know that the leadership team of Butch and you have been involved in a lot of stuff to help move these things along, especially with some business contacts and that sort of thing. And to provide that continuity, I nominate Butch Lauder to serve as vice chairman.
Second.
All right. Any others?
I move it be approved by acclamation.
All right. No other nominations will be approved by acclamation. Congratulations, Vice Chairman.
Thank you,
Lauder.
thank you.
We just swapped places, so that's good. That's all right. So now,
Still got to go to all those meetings.
still got to go all the meetings. That's right. That's okay. That's okay. It's a privilege. So, all right, now we'll move on with the approval of and discussion of the agenda.
I move the agenda be approved as presented.
You have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is adopted. Next, item number 3 is consent agenda. On that agenda, we have approval of the minutes from the November 3rd, 2025, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. meetings. We have Department of Transportation additions to the system, adoption of the regular board meeting schedule for 2026, approval of the public officials' bonds for the county. We have Town of Clayton appointments to the Clayton Planning Board and Board of Adjustment. We also have appointments to the plat review officers for the Town of Clayton as well. Adopt the First Amendment to Voluntary Commitment Transportation Agreement. The Johnston County Inspections has a request there for some implementation, continued implementation for software. Then we have appointments to the Veterans Services Advisory Board and the Economic Development Advisory Board. Town of Four Oaks and then Town of Smithfield. And we have budget revisions for the jail, one for the Sheriff's Department and Social Services. And then our taxes, tax releases and refunds. Is there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, some of those approvals for board membership includes, it's not in contention, there's only, we don't have to vote on them.
Right.
So but some need a waiver because of length of service. So I move to approve the consent agenda, including waivers for that length of service policy.
All right. We have a motion. Any second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is adopted. All right, this takes us to our next portion of the meeting is the public comments. The first on the public comments, I'm going to ask Commissioner Rose to introduce his guest today for the 2025 National Dog Show winner. And I won't steal the thunder. Commissioner, I'll let you introduce your guests.
Well, for as long as I can remember, Thanksgiving tradition right after the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is the National Dog Show. And this year, it was quite amazing that right here from Johnston County, right here from Princeton, we have the best in show, Soleil, and his handler, Daniel Martin. And when we found out that this was from Princeton, First of all, couldn't believe I didn't already know him because I know so many Martins. But I did reach out to Daniel and ask him to come today. And so if he would come up to the podium and introduce Soleil, that would be incredible for us.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name's Daniel Martin, as he said, and this is Soleil. My wife and I are dog handlers and trainers. We live actually in Princeton, and she is actually from Oklahoma. Her owners reached out to us a couple years ago and got in touch with us, and she's been living with us for about a year and a half, and we made the journey for training and made it up there, and we're lucky enough to be the winners. So
Wow.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Awesome.
Wow.
Really neat. Around 2,000 dogs. So she worked her butt off, and she showed what she was made of. Yeah. So,
And I did read a quote, I guess, afterwards, and you were mentioning why that North Carolina and Johnston County is really a popular place for dog handlers, and I was wondering if you could go into that a little bit.
yeah, no, I mean, just the area. I mean, we live, 10 miles out of here, right off of Brogdon Road. I mean, it's just quiet. I mean, very dog-friendly area. I mean, I grew up in Raleigh, Garner area. I mean, I grew up with dogs. Like I said, it's just, there's dogs everywhere, and I mean, people are very welcoming. I mean, the community, I go out to Lowe's, go to Tractor Supply, doesn't matter where I go, I've always bring our dogs, and everybody's super welcoming and very friendly. So it's a good place to raise dogs and a family, and we just had our first daughter a year ago, so it's a good area, love it, so.
Outstanding.
Fantastic.
All right.
All right.
Can we-
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Can we get a picture?
Absolutely. we
Yeah,
can
let's get a picture.
Yes.
Gonna go home and have a word with my dogs. They're not playing. Well, hey.
Can y'all come out that way? Yeah. There you go.
Slide in.
All right, here we go.
Well, I may have to throw something just to get her ears up. It's kind of a show dog thing, I know.
We have some mints back here, you know.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Adam can't
Yeah.
catch with the hook.
Yeah.
We got it. Awesome.
Great job.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Anybody else? Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's got the treats?
I was about to say, who's got the treats?
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Appreciate you being
awesome.
with us
Thank
today. Thank
you.
you.
Johnston County is a great place to live and work and be a dog.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
exactly. It's, goes on and on, so that's fantastic. Next on the agenda, we'll have our Human Resources Director, Paulette Williams, and she will come forth to recognize some of our recently retired employees. Good morning, Ms. Williams.
Morning. Good morning. That is certainly such a hard person to follow, but much congratulations.
And everyone doesn't get treats.
Yeah.
I know. All right, but good morning to our Board of Commissioners. The county today would like to recognize our January 2026 retirees and, of course, mentioning their respective departments. We'll ask that those that are in attendance will stand, and then thereafter look to maybe hear a message from you all and take a picture. Today, we'll recognize not in attendance is Miss Patty Barber, and she is with the Sheriff's Office. She's been with us for over 25 years. Present today, we have Miss Jeannie Evans from the Tax Office, and she's been with us for over 25 years. Miss Julie Gudak with the Health Department has been with us for over 30 years. And then we also have Miss Jamie Sheldon from the Health Department as well. So
Fantastic. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, thank you for your dedication and service to the citizens of Johnston County. We're proud of you. You've earned your mark as a retiree, and we hope you enjoy it and wish you the very best. And we have some challenge coins for you here also. And if you'd like to come up and make a picture, or if you have any comments you'd like to make also. No comment. There you go. Go ahead.
My name is Jamie. I am the outgoing WIC director, and it has been my honor to serve the citizens of Johnston County for the past 10 years.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your
so
service.
much.
Anyone else? All right.
if y'all are good with the picture.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Have we given the reconsider talk?
The reconsider, I'm gonna give these to our three retirees. Thank you so much for your service. So our Johnston County official.
Thank you. Thank you.
challenge coin.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Thank y'all.
I'll have to-
Congratulations.
I'm always thankful that one of the board priorities is the employees and what a great job that they do, and those who have committed so many years to the excellence of service to the community. So, next on the agenda would be recognition of David Fulcher for environmental health. Do I have someone that's going to come forward with that? There they are. There's Todd. Come forth, sir. You're award winning. We appreciate you being here this morning.
Well, thank you very much. It was definitely an honor. It was definitely humbling and a surprise. Todd told us about a month before the conference and in our staff conference, and I think I just sat there for a good 2 to 3 minutes and didn't even say anything because it was so humbling and just surprising. But it's been a great 27 years, and I've enjoyed every second of it, and hopefully can finish out my last 3 years plus here, just serving the citizens of Johnston County. So, thank you.
And Todd's behind you doing like this for more years.
Yeah. I think he wants me to go at least 8 so that we can retire together. But I don't know. We'll see.
Would you explain for the public the award?
Yes, it was the Steve Steinbeck On-Site Wastewater Protection Hall of Fame. Basically for what our department does, we have 2 sides. One is for food and lodging, and the other is for on-site septic systems that, as you know how busy Johnston County is, and all of the homes that are being built out in the county that require on-site septic systems. And like I said, I've been doing it for 27 years and on-site supervisor now for about 8. And also, we've had new rules implemented as of January 1, 2024. I helped with some of the implementation of those rules, as well as I've been in a lot of the rulemaking and decision-making for a lot of the private option permitting that it's going on nowadays for Johnston County. So,
Good. Congratulations.
yep. So
That's
thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you very much
Thank
for the recognition. I appreciate
We're
it.
very proud of you, and congratulations on your award and admission into the Hall of Fame. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you get a picture?
Yeah, you want to get a picture? Yeah, absolutely. Do we have another coin? Sue, do we have another coin?
Rick's on it.
Oh, Rick's going to get one. Okay, yeah. All right.
My backup. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Congratulations again.
I might have 2 coins. One for the Hall of Fame and retirement.
You're not retired yet. Yeah, maybe at retirement you'll get another one. Yeah,
We'll redesign them by then.
Yeah,
so
hold on
we
just
get
one
a-
second. We're going to.
yeah, we've got one for you right here.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah.
Right here.
Yep, there we go. Fantastic.
There you go.
Come right,
There
come
we go,
right.
there we
got
go.
it. We got
Oh,
it.
let's stand back up for that. Oh,
Absolutely.
you can get it. You can get it.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michelle had one.
I'll take it back.
Replace hers.
Back in my stash.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, this is the point of our agenda where audience members, anyone who would like to come and address the board can do so. Let me first ask, is there anyone here to speak at public comment before I go through the entire? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to the next. Any emails, Madam Clerk, for public comment? Any emails for public comment? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is Emergency Services, Johnston County Fire Commission Cost Share Policy. We've got Travis Johnson and Chief Chris Ellington here to present this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here, coming off a holiday weekend. Always enjoy coming up here and seeing y'all because we know we're trying to better fire service in Johnston County. And always, with the cold weather coming up, remind everybody, check your heaters, make sure your smoke detectors are working. I always want to remind everybody of that every time I get in front of a crowd. So I got Chris Ellington, from the chairman of the Johnston County Fire Commission, to speak on the proposed cost share policy.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Commissioners. Congratulations, Commissioner Harris.
Thank you.
On your appointment. It won't look a whole lot different, just flip seats there, but I wanted, before I go into the cost sharing and talk about that.
We looked a lot.
I did want to,
Same hairstyle.
I did want to mention that, you know, as we travel around and we talk about our fire service protection district, and we go to all these different counties, we were privileged a couple weeks ago to go to a county and see how blessed Johnston County is for the communication and the cooperation that we have amongst the fire service leaders, the county administration, the commissioners. That's not common across the state. We're learning that more and more as we go around, that we have something special. And I would dare to say that if we didn't have the participation from all sides like we do today, that it would not be possible. We wouldn't be anywhere close to where we are. But I thank the commissioners and the county staff and all for that, and just all the fire service leaders as well for just pulling as one team here. And it shows, and the steps we've made have been great, and I think we can continue that through the future. So thank you for that. But I'll get into what I'm supposed to be talking about, and that's cost share. In the beginning, we started looking at funding, and that's what the Fire Service Protection District was about funding. And one thing that we saw as we were moving through this and looking at our partners through other parts of the state, looking at their county and their models, cost share came up. And cost share deals with the funding between the county and the municipal departments, and how that's split up. Basically, what percentage the county's going to pay versus what the town's going to pay. And at the end of it, the purpose of the policy is to establish a fair and transparent cost sharing model between the county and the town for fire protection services. And we could have quit right there. We went on into purpose, but that's what we wanted to do. That was the whole intention behind cost share, to make sure, in layman's terms, to make sure that the towns are paying their portion of fire protection and the county's paying their portion. What we didn't want to see was, and we saw this across the county in a large majority of the places, was that the county citizens that do not live inside of municipalities were subsidizing the towns for fire protection. Now, there's a couple oddities there that it was the other way. Some of the towns were putting more money into the county fire protection than what they were supposed to. So this cost share is to help even that up. And one thing that we decided that we needed to do was come up with a formula. And like I said, we didn't put the wheels on the wagon. We borrowed wheels from other wagons to get this. And we came up with a formula. And that formula looks at four data-driven points. And that's something I'd like to point out too. This is all data-driven. This is not opinion-based. It is strictly based on numbers. And one of those was call volume, the call volume in and out of town, real and personal property, the population, and the square miles that are protected. Once you do that and put it all into our equation, I think you have the draft policy. It comes up with a percentage on what should be paid by the county and what should be paid by the towns. And we saw that there's some differences out there in what it was supposed to be like. And this is based on operational cost. I should have mentioned that. This first formula deals with operational cost, and it also deals with fire apparatus. So we're not going to go tell a town when they have to buy a fire truck. You know, they have to decide when they're going to do that, and we're going to apply the same cost share formula to that with the same data-driven points. The oddity here is when it comes to fire stations. If a fire station is going to be constructed inside the town limits, we want to look at that because there is some benefit to the citizens outside the town. So we want to cost share with that. That's going to have staffing, that's going to have apparatus that can benefit us when we have a fire in the county, just like it does in the town. So there's an equation for that, and it varies just a little different, but the biggest part about fire stations is the last sentence. Approved by the Johnston County Board of Commissioners is required for all new construction involving cost share participation with the Johnston County Fire Protection Service District. So a town just can't go out here and build 5 fire stations and say, well, hey, you owe us this much money. It has to be approved by the commissioners and then vetted. All of this data is going to be reviewed annually until we get a few years down the road, and then we're going to do a rolling average. That rolling average will allow towns and the county to budget, but we have to get there. We have to start somewhere. So we wanted to review it annually till we get to that point. Implementation is probably the biggest factor. This is going to be a difference for either the county or the towns. So we wanted to work into that and make it affordable for the citizens. At the end of everything, we want to cooperate with our towns. We want to make it so that we can provide fire protection, whether it's in the county or whether it's inside a municipality. But we have to move that needle somewhere, or we're never going to get there. And I used the analogy, you know, if you've got something for free or you've gotten something at a discounted rate, nobody really likes to go back and have to pay full price for it or to start paying for it at all. So that's not really what we're doing, but that's something I use all the time. In your packet, in the draft, you see an implementation. And what we did is we took what the difference was. When we applied the formula, saw what the numbers were going to be, and then whatever that percentage of increase was, you apply that to the implementation plan. It might have been year 1, or they might be a 5-year phase-in, just depending on how great that number was and what that effect was going to be. And, you know, it states that the cost share policy is going to be approved by the governing bodies, both county and town, and implemented according to terms within this policy. Obviously, we can't dictate what a town adopts or doesn't adopt, but we can ensure as the county, our portion is being paid, and it remains inside the county and doesn't go inside the municipal limits. So that is a very quick run through of the cost share policy, and I'm sure there's a lot of questions, and we have talked about it so much that I can just about recite a lot of it without looking at my paper, and there's been a lot of discussion. One thing we did is we met with each commissioner individually and went over cost share, but then we've met with each town individually and sat down and had meetings and had an initial meeting and offered a second meeting if we needed one. We even had a meeting with all the towns present at one time. And still have that option open if they want to meet and talk about it or look at it again. We received 4 letters. I would say letters of acknowledgement or concern, one from Clayton, Princeton, Micro, and Kinley. I think all of them agree that cost share is something that has to be looked at. The implementation is what they were looking at, and how soon they could implement it and be able to afford it for their citizens. Because that's what we want to do, is we want to provide the service, but the citizens have to be able to afford it as well. So that is a very quick go through of the cost share policy, but I'd take any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Chairman Ellington, since he's chairman of the Fire Commission?
I've got one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I know you guys have put a lot of work into this thing, and you've solicited feedback from the towns. Was there any adjustments to y'all's formula from that feedback?
We did not. We wanted to keep the formula the same. We looked at it, and one town indicated they wanted to look at some call volume numbers, and we ran that, and it really doesn't move the needle at all whether you include what they wanted to include or not. So we decided to just stick with the current formula we have.
Well, I know you guys put a lot of work into it, and I appreciate it.
And I would go back and say that a committee put this together, and on that committee, every town was represented by their fire chief in this cost share policy. Right. So I hope with education by their fire chief, they knew this was coming and it was not a surprise. So,
any other questions for the chairman?
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
First of all, Chief Ellington, I'd like to thank you and the Fire Commission for your leadership on this issue. I think that it certainly represents good public policy overall. I'm a little concerned about the town participation in this, and case in point, last month, this commission approved an agreement with the town of Clayton that allows them to assume a water and sewer district off of Cornwallis Road. And it's my understanding that's ultimately going to lead to a 1,000-plus unit residential development when they annex that into their system. But it's just right across the road from one of your fire stations, a brand-new one. Is that going to affect the town's position in terms of participation in this cost share, or who's going to serve that?
That's yet to be determined. I would like to think for the citizens, we would do the right thing. We're going off on a different topic, but I would like to think we do the right thing for the citizens and give them the fastest response they can possibly get. But what that would do is that would affect their numbers. When a town annexes property, that does affect their cost share number.
Yes.
So their percentage they would have to contribute will go up.
Yes, and if there is a concern or disagreement on their part what their share should be, that's going to further exacerbate the differential, is it not?
You're right. You're correct.
All right, so any thoughts about how that may be resolved?
Speaking about it early on, we were talking about how we implement it and how you get this thing going. And the best analogy I heard was it's like taking a Band-Aid off. You just got to rip it off. And everybody's got to just get that sting. Now, one thing we've talked about in the cost share policies and meetings has been where does the fire department fall in this?
Yes.
Because the fire department falls in the middle. Because the county could say yay and the town say nay, but the fire department would be the one that fair funding is going to be affected. So I would hope that the county and the town leaders could come together and come up with an implementation plan that would work and it would not leave the citizens with not being funded properly at their fire stations. So.
Understood. I appreciate that feedback, and have no doubt that fire response is going to put the citizens first, regardless. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Chief Ellington? Okay.
No.
All right. Let me too also say that the Fire Commission, under your leadership, and as well as the fire chiefs all involved in this process, have done an extraordinary job. And I think it's been unanimous that the policy itself is a good policy. I think that the numbers involved with some of the municipalities may be of concern. So, the board has an opportunity today to either approve this policy or take it under advisement, and we could vote on it in January, just to give us an opportunity to meet with some of the town representatives and have those conversations. But at this time, there's no other questions for Chief Ellington, then I'll turn it over to the wishes of the board.
I would prefer, I guess, given our normal policies, we've heard it today, and let's consider it for a vote in January.
Okay.
January 5th.
Agreed.
All right. All right.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me the time to come and talk this morning.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Great job.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Do you need that in a motion?
As council, we don't need to, just, okay. Thank you. All right, item number 6 is Parks and Open Space request to adopt a comprehensive trails and greenways plan. We have Adrian O'Neill and Austin Cross with us here this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. I'd like to, first of all, say that we're not asking for adoption today. This is a lot to go over, a lot to read. I want to give you time to look at it and review it thoroughly. We did contract with McAdams Company through a DOT grant, and they've been working for the past year on a countywide trails and greenways plan. It will be a standalone plan, but it will be in an appendix in our transportation plan for the county. And what we have done today is we've got McAdams with Zach Hollick and Joel Strickland to come and present that plan. So this time I'll turn it over to them.
If you'll just give them there, she can pass them out. That way you don't have to. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chairman, and good morning, Board. Thank you all for letting us come and present to you this morning. We're glad to be back before you. As Mr. O'Neill mentioned, I've got Zach Halleck with me as well, who played a large role in this project. But we wanted to come back to you, provide you an update on this year-long process, basically, that we've been working on for the Comprehensive Greenways and Trails Plan in Johnston County. And you can see here, we've got just the executive summary of the plan included in here for your review, but we'll go through that a little bit more through this presentation. We've got a lot of information here. I don't want to take too much of your time, so we may go kind of quick, but if you have any questions, we'll be glad to address those. So starting off with the real vision for this plan, and this was worked on together holistically with the Parks and Rec staff as well as the steering committee that we put together with staff. But the community vision for this plan was to create a safe, connected, and community-supported active transportation network of greenway and trail facilities throughout Johnston County and connect to neighboring bike and pedestrian facilities inside and outside the county limits. The project team, in coordination with the steering committee, will work to safely enhance health, mobility, and the overall quality of life of the community while preserving natural spaces and promoting alternative sustainable transportation. So just hitting on a few things here. Obviously, it was really important for this plan to present corridors, present greenways and trails that were obviously safe, that connected to your existing network of trails and greenways, and supported active transportation. It was also important that we worked with your surrounding and neighboring counties to make sure that anything we proposed would feed into those counties appropriately, and anything they have proposed would also come back this way appropriately. So we worked with the surrounding counties also to make sure that that was included. And then obviously the counties come a long ways with the network that you do have. Your Parks and Rec staff have done a great job proposing greenways and trails within the county. So we obviously wanted to make sure that with this plan, we were making all of those connections to what's existing within the county. And then, as I mentioned before, also looking at what's outside the county. Were the goals of this plan, and I won't go into great detail on these, but obviously we wanted to enhance mobility and connectivity. We wanted to support and prioritize projects that were really feasible and that had community support. Obviously, we wanted to push forward projects that would be sustainable for your economic development and promote economic development within the county. And then it's obviously very important to improve public health and wellness as a goal of this plan. And then we went through and we made some objectives that apply to each one of these goals. You can see those there. I won't go through all of those, but again, we wanted to dive further into those goals and establish some objectives that related to those. Looking back at our schedule, just to give you an overview, again, this has been about a year project. We started about this time last year, went through an elaborate existing conditions of what you had in place in the county and what was around the surrounding counties, also connecting to the area. We did extensive public engagement really throughout the process, and really we wrapped that up for the most part last week with our final public meeting. We worked on the recommended network, which really looked at the network analysis, developing some design guidance that staff could use, as well as looking at some cross sections, and we'll talk more about those as we go through the presentation. Then work through implementation and plan development through the back end of this project. A little bit about the public engagement we did. We did do a public survey early on in the process. It received 1,200 views and 656 participants. That's individual people that participated in the survey. We had got, from those folks that did participate, we got almost 12,000 responses back. So a lot of good data points there. And then we got over 1,000 individual comments back that also helped guide this process and helped guide our recommendations. I won't hit on all of these, but I'll just hit on some of these key points that we got back from the survey. The relation to Johnston County, of all the respondents, 95% of the respondents lived in the county. The amount of greenway usage, this was something we wanted to monitor and see, not just for current existing conditions, but also into the future. So you'll see this for a lot of these questions we would ask, do you currently do this? Would you do this with an expanded network, an expanded greenway and trail system? So currently the response we got back on how much people use greenways currently, most respondents currently use greenways at least a few times a year. So that was good feedback, and that's good to know. Only 7% said that they do not use greenways at all within the county. For the future, 44% of people said that if you improve the network, they would be more apt to use it a few times a week, which was double what we saw of the current conditions. And there would be an overall increase in greenway usage with an expanded network. You see the greenway usage type here. This is really looking at why people use greenways within the county and trails within the county. The overarching response here was obviously for health and exercise, which is great. That ties right into the Parks and Rec side of things. And the future responses also lended to most people still using it for health and exercise. But you can see the brighter shade of red there shows the future usage. So you can see how everything ramps up as conditions improve within the county. So more people would be likely to use it for health and exercise. More people would be likely to use it for recreation, to walk, to bike, or bike to school or work. So all of that was positive feedback that we received with an increased network in the future. Some of the feedback that we received on why people currently don't use trails, the main response that we got back up, I think it's 48% of respondents said the lack of nearby destinations was a concern. So basically saying that the trails weren't connecting to places that they needed to go or wanted to go. So that was something we really looked at when we did this, did the recommendations. We looked at destinations, looked at key destinations within the county, and tried to make sure that whatever we proposed made those connections so people would be more apt to use the greenways. And personal safety was a concern of some folks. About 30% of respondents responded that way. But that's something we've also tried to address within this plan. And where would you like to see connections? Again, this goes back to the destinations piece of it. Overwhelming response there for parks and rec facilities, also connections to downtowns and to retail commercial areas. All of those received over 50% support. This talks a little bit about the benefits of a greenway network and how the public sees the benefits. Again, most people see the benefits of greenways and trails in Johnston County as a public health benefit. Then it goes down to community connections, down to environmental conservation, economic development, and then the least amount of responses we received were tied toward transportation, which is understandable when you don't really have those connections in place now. Obviously, one of the goals for the future is that this network would be so elaborate that it would be a true transportation option and an alternative to someone's car. And we talked with Mr. O'Neill about that. I think his thoughts on this is he would love for it to be one day where somebody can walk out of their door and make that decision on whether they drive their car somewhere or whether they can hop on a trail and get somewhere. So obviously, it's great to have these trails and greenways in place for health reasons and for recreation reasons, but we would love to see it be elaborate enough that it's a true transportation option also. And you can see here some of the areas where we received feedback, pretty well dispersed throughout the county. Clayton, Smithfield, McGee's Crossroads areas were the top reoccurring responses that we got. But we also got a lot of responses from areas like Archer's Lodge, Cleveland, Eastern Johnston County. And to this point also, we tried to do, and you can see some of the demographics here, we asked folks where their zip codes so we could see where the responses were coming in from. But we tried to make this, truly an outreach throughout the county. And that was part of the reason why we set up the public meetings the way we did as well, which you'll see in a moment. But just some demographics here. We had a really good even representation of folks between ages 26 and 55. A little bit less of a feedback from folks over 56. But overall, a really good disbursement of ages that responded to the survey. And then the gender response is pretty even, about 60% female, 40% male or other. And then you can see the demographics here. Majority responses were from white Caucasian responses, 80%, but we did get some feedback from other ethnicities as well. And then household income, you can see that is here as well. 46% came from 100,000 to 200,000 range. 19% from 50,000 to 99,000, and then there were others mixed in as well. So we overall got responses from basically a good coverage of household income. So the stakeholder outreach, as I started to hit on just a little bit before, we did do some interjurisdictional meetings to really get that personalized feedback from certain groups. So we met with transportation partners individually. That included NCDOT Division 4, the Johnston County Airport, the RPO, and Campo as well. We had an individual meeting with them, got a lot of good feedback from them. We also met with all the municipalities within the county, got good feedback from them. Had a Johnston County Partners meeting, which included a lot of your departments and department heads, and got feedback from those groups. Also set up a meeting with trail partners, which included East Coast Greenway Alliance, Mountains to Sea Trail, North Carolina State Parks, and some of those groups. And then lastly, we set up that meeting, as I mentioned before, with a lot of the external partners, which we had representation from Wake County, Wilson County, Wayne County, Sampson County, and a lot of the surrounding areas to make sure that they were able to provide their input and we were able to understand what their future goals are and see how they align with what we were doing with this plan. We did do 3 public meetings throughout the process. We tried to kind of put those at different areas within the county to get appropriate feedback from the entirety of the county. The first one we did back on May 14th, and we did it in Princeton at the Bread and Bottle. We had 13 folks that actually signed in as being in attendance. We probably had we estimated closer to 20 or a little more than that who actually came through and looked at the information, but potentially didn't sign in. Some of the feedback we got from that meeting was folks wanted to see sidewalks really separated more so from roadways. We had some interesting stuff in regards to boat launches and paddle boatways and interest in that. Obviously, as we mentioned before with the survey, we had a lot of support for connections to parks and state parks. We also had some folks that wanted to see a skate park created, so just keep that in the back of your mind as you move forward. And then folks that wanted to see connections with Bentonville Community Building. The second public meeting we held on August 7th. For that one, we had 18 folks signed in. That was the first meeting where we actually took out our first recommendations. So that was the opportunity for folks to actually look at recommendations and provide their feedback on those. And you can see here they identified their high priority trail segments. We got a lot of feedback on kind of a corridor from Smithfield to Clayton, and a lot of interest in those. We also identified some new developments that folks were interested in and trying to make connections to those along with points of interest. And then community partners and partnerships were also discussed. We've been really pleased with the response we've gotten back from your local Boy Scouts. They've participated greatly in this meeting as well as in the third public meeting, which we just had last week in Clayton. And we had 21 signed-in attendees for that one. Again, the Boy Scouts were heavily involved. Several of them came out with their families and asked questions and wanted to be involved in the process. With this meeting also, we got a lot of feedback on how folks appreciate the effort and a lot of excitement for the future. We did get some additional feedback on wanting these trails and greenways to connect to existing sidewalks and make sure that they connect to sidewalks in their areas. And then we also got a lot of good feedback on future parks and recreation facilities. I'll let Zach walk you through a little bit of this information regarding site visits and some of the recommendations.
Thank you, Joel, and good morning, everyone. Really happy to be here. Kind of as Joel said, I did a lot more of the kind of back-end sort of engineering technical look at a lot of the stuff that went into the plan, and so what you see here are some photos from our first site visit around this time last year. So this was, given how large Johnston County is, this first site visit was really just to try to get a lay of the land, see what's out there, and get a smattering of different observations. You'll see a lot of bridges and creeks because that tends to be the place where you want to put greenways and trails. Site visit number 2 was a little more honed in. We had a target we're aiming at now that we have our priority projects, and so all of the focus on site visit 2 was really looking at specific locations, constrained areas along those priority projects. In terms of, I guess, how we got from a overall network to what those priority projects are, we looked at a series of recommended criteria, and so each of these would be ranked somewhat qualitatively, but also with some calculation on the back end on these ranges from Safety, which is things like, is there crash history along the adjacent roadways? Does it close a gap in the trail network? And ensuring we're providing access to things like schools and parks and recreation, and then connecting neighborhoods and commercial or employment areas, but also kind of those other connectivity metrics. Are we doing things like reaching the county line, or are we coordinating with another regional trail vision, things like East Coast Greenway or the Mountains to Sea Trail? And then crossing major barriers, like does a segment get you across an interstate or a river? And the last other priorities were things like, did we get strong community input on certain segments? And then minimizing environmental impacts, things like making sure, are we going through wetlands or impacting floodways and floodplains? So on to our priority projects. Project number 1, these are kind of in order and ranked in terms of their scoring in those metrics, and so they'll get kind of a prioritized build year that goes further out the further you get down the list. And so priority project 1 takes us from Selma Elementary School. It gets us under 95 and over into Pine Level. We did look at another option that would build a separate pedestrian bridge over 95 here, but it doesn't make sense from a cost perspective, and we'll talk a little bit more about some crossing treatments once we get to that. But we're really looking at roadway modifications, do something cost effective to get under 95. Priority project 2 takes us from Clayton there near the Neuse River, where that bridge along 36 or 42 was recently rebuilt. We can kind of get a grade separation underneath, connect to the elementary school, and then route along Neuse River Parkway there up through Flowers. Again, we looked at another option that would take you off the road and look at a more traditional greenway experience, but again, a lot of environmental impacts, structures required, and the costs there. It's in the plan. We assessed it, and it doesn't really make sense at this time to recommend something to that expense. And this does get all the way up into Archer's Lodge and connects to Archer's Lodge Middle School. So project number 3 is really a side path along Cleveland Road. This will be one that there's a DOT STIP project that will widen this road and build sidewalks. So this would really be a expansion of those sidewalks on one side of the road into a multi-use path. There's also checks a lot of boxes for school connectivity because we're touching Westview Elementary, Cleveland Middle, and Polenta Middle School, or Polenta Elementary School, all as part of this project. It also gets us within half a mile of that new Johnston County Regional Park. Priority Project 4 is really an extension of Priority Project 1, so it's going to continue on from Pine Level down into Princeton, primarily through the use of the Moccasin Creek corridor, so a lot of greenway, a lot of natural areas to take advantage of here. One thing I will note, we still have an option for a route along US 70 alternate, because with the Interstate 42 potential future conversion, that's not a funded STIP project at this moment, but if it were to be funded, we want to make sure that's still on the table so that you could have a trail with a separated underpass of the interstate constructed, because otherwise it's a little challenging to get across that current US 70 corridor. Then priority project 5 and 6 kind of combined it into one map here, given the length of the area out here in the northeastern part of the county. But this picks up where segment 2 left off at Archer's Lodge, kind of continues along Corin Holders High School out to Archer's Lodge, or not Archer's Lodge. I can't read my own map here. Corin Holders Elementary, so that's kind of segment 5. And then segment 6 continues again along NC 231 out to the Flower Mill Nature Preserve near the county line. We did look at an optional connection that would kind of follow that Great Trail State route and connect out to the reservoir near the county line. But again, a lot of environmental constraints and other things out here. The cost estimate just didn't really justify recommending it right now. Then priority project 7. This is, again, kind of on the edge of Clayton, headed out towards Interstate 40. And so, again, there's another STIP project that's going to be constructing a multi-use path within the town limits. This would pick up where that project ends, that multi-use path ends. And we looked at kind of two options to get across Interstate 42. One would just be building an independent pedestrian bridge. The other option would be to route up and around and get under Interstate 42 along the existing bridge. And the cost estimates were about the same, but I think we're in the business of building trails and providing experiences and connections, not just building a bridge for the sake of building a bridge. So we wanted to give them a greenway facility here. There's also other connections that would connect up to the Winston Point development, and then another option to connect up to Wake County along Swift Creek. Priority project number 8, what we're calling the Cross Benson Connector, really ties into that previously approved East Coast Greenway feasibility study. So kind of two segments on either side of that route. One would get you from the county line really into the middle of Benson. The other segment would get you from the center of Benson across 95 on some multi-use paths that are being constructed as part of the Interstate 95 widening project. When they replace that bridge in Benson, there will be wider bike and ped facilities off the roadway as part of that bridge, so we'll be able to use that as a cost-effective way to cross the interstate. Priority project number 9 picks up in Selma at Brack Wilson Park and really looks at routing options to get to micro. We've kind of got two options. There's two segments where you could either go up along the middle school or continue as a more natural greenway corridor. The costs were similar, and I think at this point either option is viable. But then as you kind of get further east, you're trying to look for some natural area corridors that are off the road. You start to run into a lot more environmental constraints and wetlands that drives up the cost for some of these segments. Kind of as something like this would move into design, you might look at options that would consider that side path as well. And then once you get into micro, we're looking at connecting to North Johnston Middle School with another little segment connecting into their main street as well. And priority project 10 and 11, again, this is kind of one long corridor along Black Creek coming out of Four Oaks and crossing the interstate. And again, this is another one where there's just a lot of natural area constraints going on. There's going to be boardwalk structure needed. And one of the common questions we'll get is, why don't you just plan your route along or closer to the river? And the answer to that tends to be soil. There's bad soil conditions, there's flooding, you're going to need a lot more structure, and so it's both a cost savings in the upfront and in the long term. It's going to be easier to maintain something that is kind of up and along the side of the slopes before you get down closer to the creek. And so this would cross, a number of roads out here, Raleigh Road, Federal Road. It would cross under Interstate 40 at the existing bridge, and then would connect to NC 50 on the western side. And our last project here is a side path on NC 96 down in the Meadow area. And really, the purpose of this is to get across I-40 in the southern part of the county. The interstates kind of create 4 separate quadrants of Johnston County, and being able to, prioritize projects that cross those barriers can create a starting point for a trail development. You're not building a trail and trying to figure out how to get to the other side of the interstate if the first piece you're building is the one that gets you across. This also does connect into the elementary school there along NC 50. In addition to kind of the linear piece, there's also the intersection treatments, and so this work was done by our sub, Kittleson, and so they took a pretty comprehensive look at all of the roadway crossings along the priority projects. You kind of have a large suite of potential treatments for traffic signals, stop-controlled approaches, yield and uncontrolled approaches, your highway ramps, and then mid-block crossings as well. I will note that all of these are kind of subject to additional review and approval by NCDOT during design and any encroachment needed to construct a trail project. And so, as I kind of mentioned, that first crossing on segment 1, how do you get under Interstate 95? And so we're kind of pinched against both the railroad corridor and the bridge structure here, but there's enough sort of space, existing roadway pavement and shoulder, to look at some geometric realignment of the roadway, do something like place a Jersey barrier, extend the guardrail to separate the trail from the roadway, and not have to do any kind of major modification to a structure or some kind of negotiation with the railroad. There's enough room on the north side, kind of between the road and the existing bridge. Then jumping over to segment 3, this is Cleveland Road at NC 42. Again, a pretty recently reconstructed area. It's a very large intersection. There's large crossing distances. You'd expect a really long signal length out here, so anyone who's trying to cross the road here, you're going to have to wait a long time, but you're going to want to make sure they can do that in one single crossing. And so we've got a lot of treatments out here, looking at things like assessing no turn on red, doing things like extending the curb ramps to provide some additional protection from crossing vehicles. These are all in the suite of options out here. The next is kind of thinking more broadly. This is an example of an interstate ramp crossing, but there's so many different contexts for these interstate ramps. Some have a lot of signalization, some have no signalization. Some will have existing refuge islands that are kind of painted that you could turn into a kind of raised pedestrian island. Some do not. And so really you're looking at things ranging from reducing the turning radiuses for some of these slip lanes to help slow vehicles down, changing the signal timing patterns, adding new signals so that there's a protected crossing for pedestrians across these slip lanes. And so any of these treatments would vary just kind of based on what type of ramp you're crossing. And the last intersection here in Benson is NC 50 at NC 27. This is kind of an interesting offset intersection because there's a couple different places you'd be expected to cross if you were routing a trail through here. And so really we're looking at lots of markings, high visibility signage, potential for things like rapid flashing beacons. The exhibit does indicate raised crossing, which I will note is not allowable currently on NCDOT roads, but this is a planning and a vision document. If something like this were to move into design and construction, you'd kind of have those conversations and get kind of the final approval on what would be constructed here. There's also some more specific guidance for safe crossings, both from FHWA, and we also took a closer look at greenway pavement design with some recommendations from NCDOT. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Joel.
And just real quickly, wanted to cover kind of the layout of the plan. You should have a copy of it, or should be receiving one shortly, but just wanted to talk you through some of the high level input on the plan, or what's included in the plan. So first off, we kind of go through just a basic introduction, look at the background of the project, what led to this, the vision, goals, and objectives that I talked about earlier, really capture what the study area was and, what makes up the study area, including demographics and those types of features, and then kind of build upon the benefits of greenways and trails and why they're important. Getting into chapter 2 of the plan, we really dive deep into the existing conditions within the county. We look back at previous planning efforts and previous plans that were done, how we incorporate those. We look at some of the policy in the area and review that. We talk about, we do our mapping analysis, looking at key features within the county that we need to be taken into consideration when we make these recommendations. We look at the existing greenways and trails and their conditions, their layouts, and then we also look at opportunities and constraints within the county and for specific facilities here in Chapter 2. In Chapter 3 of the plan, we kind of go into more of the community engagement, which I talked about earlier. It breaks out the steering committee and their involvement in driving this process and being involved. Goes through the community survey in some detail. Also talks about the 3 public meetings that we did and provides more information on those. Provides feedback on focus group meetings that we held, as well as the interjurisdictional and stakeholder engagement meetings that I talked about earlier. Chapter 4 of the plan really gets into the meat of the plan, which is the network recommendations. It offers some design guidance on moving forward with these facilities. The intersection treatments, as Zach mentioned just a second ago, really dives into the comprehensive greenway and trail network, looking at all the recommendations within this plan, and then looks back at the prioritization of how we decided, which projects really needed to be prioritized, which ones needed to be focused on. And obviously, just a little bit of, just a point here, obviously we went through a process of prioritizing projects, but those are just recommendations, obviously. We've, the Parks and Rec staff know that process, so if they want to go through another process of prioritization with new projects, they can do that. Or if they have other projects, I think there's over 70 recommendations within the plan total. If they have other projects that they want to pull forward ahead of some of these priorities that we've established, you have the full authority to do that. But we just wanted to offer our input on some prioritization and recommendations. Chapter 5 and 6 really gets into policy and program recommendations, some policies you potentially can put in place, some programs that you can use for assistance or that you can work with to move the trails and greenways forward. And then really looking at Chapter 6 implementation, how do you get these trails and greenways done? How do you get them implemented within the county? Looking at partner roles, some groups that you can work with and partner with to help your chances of pushing these forward. We get into the priority projects and the cut sheets. We talk about an action plan of next steps, how you move forward. Look at funding resources, some areas where you can get additional funding for trails and greenways and how to supplement that. And then we also go into maintenance resources as far as what you could expect for future maintenance on your greenways and trails and some of the costs associated with those. So that's the main bulk of what we wanted to present to you today. Obviously, next steps, we're here this morning Plan adoption would probably be the next piece, and then, as Mr. O'Neill mentioned, this would be included in the recently adopted Johnston County CTP as an appendix to kind of add on to what that plan established and to establish some additional greenways and trails to accompany that plan. Again, the last public meeting was last week, so there's still some little tweaks in the plan that we're making. And if you have any feedback as you go through the plan, we'll be glad to take that feedback and address those. And if you have any questions today, I'll be glad to answer those.
Any questions for these gentlemen from McAdams on the plan?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Rick?
Question I have is that you've got 12 different priority projects in here, and there's cost numbers associated for each individual segment. Are those cost figures representative of today's dollars or future dollars?
Yeah, and Zach, you can add to this, but we really established those more on today's dollars, right, Zach?
Sorry,
Or
so what,
some of both, depending on the year.
so what
Okay,
was
what-
presented in that, shown on the slide is future year dollars. So what you're gonna need at the year of construction to get this thing built. And so that varies as you go, the later in the priority projects, we made an assumption that they're gonna get built later. So there's more escalation built into, projects 9, 10, 11, and 12.
And what is the overall total of all 12 priority projects?
I do not have that off the top of my head.
We can figure that and get it to you, but again,
About
it's not anticipated
410.
that you would do all of these within a certain time frame. You can pick and choose priorities that are appropriate given the time and the needs, and move those forward however you see fit. Our goal here was just to present to you what our ranking system showed as the priorities, and then educate you and give you the information on potential costs associated with those.
Well, that's understood, but if you're forecasting this into the future, what is the point in the future which represents that value? I mean, if you don't know that, then
Well, yeah, it was on each of those slides. There's, I think the projects 1 through 3, I think we assumed 2030. 4 through 6, we assume 2035, and 7 through 9, we assume 2040, and then I think 9 and 10, we assumed 2045, and then 11 and 12, we assumed 2050.
okay.
So it kind of steps up as you go out. because you only
That's
have so
helpful,
much-
but each one of these priorities represents tens of millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Some higher than others, so there is a fairly substantial amount of funding required to realize this plan.
Absolutely. There it is.
Okay.
I did a quick add up. It was about 410 million.
Beg pardon?
410 million is what I added up real quick.
$410 million.
Over 25 years.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have a
And
question,
again-
Mr. Chairman.
Good.
In coordinating with Campo and RPO, do you know if any of that coordination resulting in anybody assigning points in scoring some of these projects as far as things they had on their radar?
At this point, I would say no, but let me get back in front of the microphone.
Yeah.
Their prioritization, I think projects had to be submitted by September of this year, didn't they, Commissioner Lauder?
That's right.
So once this plan is adopted, I would anticipate with the next cycle of submissions,
Right.
that would be the opportunity really for you all to push some of those with the RPO and with the MPO moving forward and try to get those included.
Sure.
Quick question on these numbers that you guys have recommended or projected. Does that include acquiring the land as well for the projects?
That does not. Nope, all this is assuming this is construction cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Wow.
Vice Chairman?
So I did just have some comments, and the first one is totally off this topic, but you mentioned Boy Scouts, and I would suggest to our PIO staff, if they're going for merit badges, I mean, I was at the Clayton, the last one, and it was good to see, I don't know, 3 or 4, 5 Boy Scouts there who were participating, so that was good to see. Excuse me. The other, I would say, if you go back to, this all started in probably 2019, we've had plans in the past where come in and get presentations that would go on the shelf. And in 2019, with Mr. O'Neill coming on board, the board back then had a vision for bringing a quality of life that was basically limited to Smithfield and Clayton at the time with the parks and greenways. And so I think this is the next step in that evolution, and which will bring to the Campo. I know currently there's not any projects on the list, but there is funding available. And so I know some people are going to say, well, we need roads. Well, the pool of money is divided up so that there's specific dollars to bike ped. So first thing it took was a comprehensive transportation plan update. Now we have an appendix with the Greenway plan to go with it. So we've built, since 2019, we've built our case, and now going forward next year, we can make sure we do look for funding from the DOT and for local area projects to get some of these built. And I know $410 million is a big number, but we're looking at, you're going to look at this individually and projects. We're not going to come up with a $410 million project list and expect that. So, I mean, it's big numbers, yes, in totality. Even some of the smaller projects or single projects have big numbers on them. But then there's funding available specifically for bike ped projects, greenways, that we'll be able to apply for, and I think we'll be succeeding. And that's not counting the ones that are built in to DOT projects that you mentioned that are already in there and that have greenway access and pedestrian access tied to them. So I think there's funding there. We just now we have the tool to go after and be able to get some of this funding.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this like a bike path roadmap of where we can start for putting some of these projects together, to your point.
Yep, you have to have the plan first.
If I can just add to that, Commissioner Law, that you have to have the plan. That's the key. In order to get funding from DOT, you have to have these facilities documented in a plan. So if you don't have them in a plan somewhere, they're not going to fund it. So, you know, and then obviously with a lot of the grants, you know, Austin's done a great job going after grants. With a lot of the grants, they're going to look for it to be included in a documented, adopted plan also. So, you know, whether you get to these projects in 10 years or in 30 years, just having it in that plan will really increase your ability to secure funding from other agencies to support your effort.
Let me ask about another variable that is not identified, and I understood these are construction estimates only, but we do not have right-of-way acquisition cost involved. Do we know how many acres do we need to realize this plan?
That we do not. We at this scale, we kind of only try to touch on number of property owners you need to interact with, because that kind of helps get a sense of how many people you're going to need to talk to. And I think part of the vision of certain things like the Great Trail State Plan and the state trail system is that you're going to work with willing landowners, someone who wants to donate an easement. And if you've got a landowner who doesn't want it, you're going to kind of have to look somewhere else. The intention is not to go in and use any sort of eminent domain, because these are meant to be community assets. You want people who want this to be part of the community, and they want to be part of the trail.
Understood, but there's quite a bit of land that's going to have to be acquired, and presuming you have willing sellers, that represents could be a fairly substantial and unknown dollar value that has to go on top of this.
I would just say this is a master plan. This is not designed, so right-of-way acquisition, I mean, you can have more numbers that are projection, but this is a master plan, not a design project. So right. I agree with Zach. I don't think we're quite at the stage of having acres yet, because not sure even where it's going. So.
And I raised a question to Zach at our public meeting in Clayton about could we somehow part of this cost down, but he pointed out the fact that in order to get DOT dollars, it's got to be up to a certain transportation standard.
Well, and to that point, though, of having a master plan, we and Adrian and his team now kind of know where to start. I mean, I bet there are quite a few landowners. We hear from a lot of people in Johnston County that want more parks, want more trails, want more greenways. If they know that their property may be identified in this master plan, they may be more willing to say, hey, raise their hand, how can I sign up to have part of our property dedicated for this reason? So to your point, it's great that we have that kind of 10,000 foot view, and then we can, over the next 30 to 50 years, start diving in. But, you know, to the point Commissioner Pace makes, I feel like at every meeting we've been doing so good at taking our priorities and biting them off. And I look at this very similar to the same. You know, how can we start figuring out, we got to start somewhere, and now we have a roadmap.
I think it's safe to assume that if we don't have the roadmap, then it doesn't open up the opportunities
Right.
to bring in funding from outside sources. Any other questions for this gentleman from the campus? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all
We
very
appreciate
much.
that very
Thank you,
much.
gentlemen.
I'll add one minor thing to what they were talking about. One of the things that's included in this plan is a developer's guide. So it will tell how thick the asphalt needs to be, how the trail needs to be designed, and hopefully encourage developers to include that plan in their development so that it's built before we even get it. So that's another key point in here that Joel didn't go over, but
Adrian, where would developers find out about this? I mean, so where is, I guess, our,
if the plan's adopted, we'll put it on our website, and it'll be available on our website.
is it something we can make sure planning and zoning have as well, just so
Oh,
as
yeah.
projects come across that it's kind of like, hey, this is also identified in this, is this something you would like to incorporate?
We actually participate now in the pre-development meetings. So if we see an opportunity, we mention it. We don't, force it, but we mention it in that pre-development meeting, and hopefully we'll get some buy-in on that. And, the other thing, when you start doing plans like this, it gives people ideas and opportunities on what they want to do with any wealth that they may have in the future. So, it starts looking a little more feasible. I know it's a big chunk to look at right now, but we're not talking about doing it tomorrow. We're talking about over the next 50 to 100 years, I would say. So,
That's great. Thank you.
So the request today is to really consider take it under advisement and consider adopting it at the January 5th meeting. Is that correct? Okay.
and after that, we will take it all to towns and try to get it adopted by the towns as well, because that makes it quite a bit stronger.
All right. Does any vote need to be cast on that, council? Okay. All right. Then, item number 7 is Parks and Open Space Rose Dairy Site Lease. Mr. O'Neill, while you're at the podium.
The next item we have on there is a project we've been working on with TLC over the course of the last year. With county funding involved, they purchased a 313-acre tract right at the end of Devil's Racetrack on Rosedairy Road. And it is their intention to turn it over to the county as a passive park. It's got trails already on it, which we're excited about. It's got 2 fishing ponds, and it's got a lot of resources that I think county residents will be happy to use. But the first thing we've got to do is get in there and do a little bit of work. And in order to do that, we need to have a lease until they turn it over to us. And one of the things that they are requiring is insurance. I think we talked about the insurance one time before, and we thought there was going to be an astronomical price, but the price is quite a bit lower than what we thought, to the tune of about $3,600 for a year. And that's liability for staff and contractors. So that would give us the opportunity to move our offices over there and also get contractors in to start doing some light renovations to allow us to move our offices over there. So with that.
Has TLC mentioned what kind of time frame we might be looking at?
They are hoping to do it in the first quarter.
Okay.
But they've got some issues with DOT, I think it is, and the reconfiguration of 701 and 95 that are kind of slowing them down a little bit. So
Okay.
I hope that this 1-year insurance policy is all we'll need.
Good.
But anyway, and let Jennifer help me out as far as what we're actually asking for.
We're asking the board to allow for the acquisition of the general liability insurance for this parcel and to allow the county manager to execute a lease for this property with TLC.
You need that in the form of a motion?
Yes, please.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve procuring general liability insurance for the site and enter into a lease with the Triangle Land Conservancy.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion or question? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I will make one brief announcement, then I'm going to turn it over to Austin for the last part of our presentation today. But we do have a groundbreaking coming up on this coming Friday. snow or shine, we're gonna have a groundbreaking. There will be a tent, so can't help the cold. But the regional park that we're embarking on is going to be going on. It'll be 10 o'clock Friday morning. I'd like to publicly invite all of you and formally invite all the public to come to the groundbreaking. And the address is 444 Matthews Road. That gets you close enough so you'll see where things are going on. But I think it's going to be a good event, and it'll be our first park project in Johnston County. So
Fantastic.
we're excited about it. Thanks to all of y'all.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is the Parks and Open Space 2025 Open Space Fund. And Austin, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So in the month of October, we did our open space grant. In total, we had 9 applicants come in, and with that, we had 14 projects. It's spread all throughout the county. We had some good applications this time, and with this cycle, we bumped up the match to 25%. So that might have deterred a couple applicants from submitting this year, but we still had a good representation. In total, it was $364,065.72. And the staff and our committee have reviewed these, and with that, we'd like to recommend approval of 13 of 14 projects and a total amount of $352,565.22. And with that, we'd like to ask the board for approval of these projects.
All right. Any questions for?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Austin.
Yep.
The one that was excluded, was that because of technical reasons within the application?
Yes, it was in Wilson Mills, and it's due to the legislation. It has to be capital or land acquisition, and these are items that could be easily picked up, and that kind of excluded it.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the 2025 Open Space Fund recommendation by the staff, awarding the 13 projects, total allocation $352,565.
And 22 cents.
And 22 cents.
All right.
I'll second that 22 cents and the rest of it as well.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or question? Hearing none, all in favor, let me know say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Y'all have a great day.
All right, item number 9 is Public Utilities Water Treatment Optimization for PFAS and DBP Reduction Study. Our Utilities Director, Ms. Farmer, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. The project that you just referenced is underway. We began that study last year after the board adopted a capital project budget for the technical cost of the initial portion of the study. However, in the meantime, we have received a principal forgiveness funding offer, essentially a grant from DEQ, Division of Water Infrastructure, for $330,000. So we're requesting today to revise the project budget to formally accept that offer, the principal forgiveness loan offer. In addition, we would like to appropriate, recognize, and budget the funds that we have received from 3M DuPont Drinking Water Settlement. That's a class action suit that we have been involved with related to PFAS. The total funds that we will receive from that is just over $3.5 million. We've received a portion of those to date, so we would like to go ahead and recognize those into this capital project budget. We are still in the process of completing the technical study and pilot study to determine the treatment that we want to implement at the treatment plant in the future. And once that project is completed, then we'll identify a project for construction and come back to you once we bid that project and would need to finalize the project budget. But any proceeds from the settlement and any left over from the study from this principal forgiveness loan would all go towards any future project that we fully identify. So today, we are recommending acceptance of the funding offer from DEQ, approval of the revised project budget, and approval of the capital project ordinance. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Farmer, could you tell me what the terms are for a principal forgiveness loan?
So it is, essentially, we do not pay principal back. We do not, the only funds associated, the only cost associated with that loan is a loan closing fee of $6,660.
Okay, so it's a loan, but we don't pay the principal back?
We don't pay it back. It's a loan we do not pay back. That is correct. That's the terminology the state uses through this program.
Interesting. All right, thank you.
I'll take one of those.
I think more than one.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions from Mr. Farmer?
No, sir.
All right, that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve, to accept the funding offer from DEQ with DWI and approval of the revised project budget and capital project ordinance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and item number 10, public utilities. Ms. Farmer, while you have the podium for US 70 business water transmission improvements.
Yes, this is proposed project is part of our capital improvements plan that the board has approved. We are requesting to adopt a budget to cover the technical services and easement acquisition for this project design. The proposed project includes a 24-inch water main along US Highway 70, and that would go from the proximity of begin around St. Anne's Catholic Church, where we have a 24-inch water main that comes cross-country there and comes out and crosses 70. It would go from there north to the Bethesda elevated water tank that's right there on Highway 70. So the initial project, again, is just for the technical services and easement acquisition. Full funding would be from our water system development fees. And we are just recommending, requesting approval of that capital budget.
All right, any questions from Ms. Farmer on the US 70 business water transmission improvements? All right, do I have a motion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the funding for the US 70 business water transmission improvement from the water system development fee reserve and approval of the capital project ordinance.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. And
Thank you.
item number 11 is yours also, Ms. Farmer.
Okay.
Proposed Johnston County water and sewer policy revisions.
Yes, you may recall last month, the board adopted an interim measure that essentially allows construction for new single-family homes that are not part of a larger common development. They would not be required to connect to public water. They would have the option of pursuing a private drinking water well. This is essentially formalizing that change that we are proposing. That's the major change to this policy. You can see on the initial pages of the policy, we modified that mandatory connection provision. So now the mandatory connection policy would apply to major subdivisions or multi-unit residential development, which will be defined as more than 3 lots. That's intended to be consistent with the county's UDO. In addition, there are some changes. The other major change in here is related to the upsized water meter. If a customer comes in and wants to replace an existing water tap with a larger tap, we've outlined that process. That was not formally established before. We had some questions previously this year, so this formally documents that. There's some other minor administrative changes that really do not change how we apply the policies at this time. We do recognize that there will likely be more changes to this after the new UDO is adopted. After we go through that process, we will ensure everything aligns and may recommend some additional changes at that time.
Okay. Any questions from Ms. Farmer about the policy revision? All right, what's the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the interim revision to the Johnston County water and sewer policy.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just wanted to say that I applaud this change. We did have an issue earlier this year where a gentleman was a little bit confused on, and I think this takes care of that. The way it's worded is very good. And the other thing with the removal of the mandatory water connection is a thing that I think that most of us who value freedom in America and this rural way of life that we love here in Johnston County. If you have a home out on some land and you want to dig a well, now that's an option. And so I applaud this move by the board.
Thank you. And I will note that the policy doesn't waive any requirements. So any requirements necessary for a lot to connect, for a private well, all those requirements still apply. You still have to meet any requirements
Sure.
that are
Right.
for a well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? All right.
I'm excited.
All in favor of the motion, please let them know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, item number 12 is appointments, and there are ballots at the commissioner's seats for Economic Development Advisory Board at-large appointments. The Economic Development Advisory Board, we have 2 available positions and 4 applicants. And commissioners, if you will complete those ballots and making sure that you sign the bottom of them, and the clerk will collect those, and we will make the announcement at the 6 p.m. meeting. Right now, we have 2 individuals that are on the board currently. Edwin L. Aldridge Jr. and Steve Hargis have applied for reappointment. We have Jonathan Stovall, and I opened that door to say that person's name. Anybody want to help me with that? Iaslu?
No, sir.
Sulu Sarveda.
Thank you, thank you. Has also applied for appointment with those. I appreciate that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I need to point out to the board that I plan to recuse myself from this vote because I have a familiar relationship with Jonathan Stovall.
Okay.
And I also would like to make a general comment about board appointments, if that's permissible.
Okay.
I know that we have an extensive number of boards that we grant appointments to. Some of them have very detailed requirements that in order to be considered, others do not. But the purpose of these boards, and I think it's approximately 30 or so of these boards, if I'm not mistaken, is to encourage civic engagement and input into the governing process here in Johnston County. And I applaud anyone who volunteers to serve these boards. And this is not a reflection on anyone who is serving, but we see a number of times in which we have to grant term waivers. Our policy has been you could serve 2 terms before needing a term waiver, as I understand it. Whatever term these boards have, and they vary from board to board, but typically they're 2 years or more. But we see situations where, because either we don't have enough candidates, that we grant term waivers multiple times. We have some situations with people who've been on boards in excess of a decade, which requires them to receive multiple term waivers. And I think that if we have a qualified candidate other than somebody seeking to apply, reapply through a term waiver, I think they should be given due consideration. Because otherwise you don't get new ideas on these boards. And that's the whole point here, is to get your citizens actively engaged in the governance of your county. So I would impress upon my colleagues that we should all take that into consideration and do what we can to see that there's opportunity provided for new ideas on these boards. And that having been said, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stovall. Next item on the agenda is item number 13, delinquent tax collection report. And our tax administrator, Jocelyn Andrews. Good morning, Ms. Andrews.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations on your new role.
Thank you.
Before you is the October collections report. As you can see, we are pacing above where we were last year percentage-wise, a little bit above 5% of where we were last year at this time. I would like to remind property owners throughout the county that basically there's 1 month left. I think the next Monday morning board meeting is the last day. It will coincide with the last day to timely pay taxes. After that time, we will be required by law to add interest to any delinquent taxes. So I just remind folks to use one of our many options to pay their taxes within the next month or so. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Andrews?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. All right. Next item is manager reports and comments. Mr. Hester.
Chairman, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Board members. Wanted to mention 2 things. One is I want to thank Vice Chairman Lauder. I took yours. For your 4 years as chairman, and appreciate your leadership. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of all the employees. Thank you very much. Congratulate Chairman Harris. Also want to mention right before the Thanksgiving holidays, Commissioner Rose and I were contacted by a property owner that was having some trouble, some concerns about their water, and our utility staff went out there and a couple nights and did a lot of flushing and made some changes with some connections that we have and helped resolve that situation. Actually got a text on Thanksgiving morning from the resident there thanking utilities for going out way above and beyond to try to get that right. So I just want to recognize Ms. Farmer and her team. So,
Fantastic.
thank
Great.
you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. And that takes us to board reports and comments, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Pace Davis. Do you have any comments or anything, Commissioner?
Thanksgiving was here and fast as always, but it was really nice the week of Thanksgiving and before that Friday night of being able to be at the youth livestock supper. It was some good food, and it was always nice to see all the young people that are stepping up to help serve as well as do the dishes and cleaning up. And it's just always so much fun to be at the youth livestock supper on that Friday before Thanksgiving, as well as following up with the Farm City Week banquet on that Tuesday night. To me, right there, I was like, Thanksgiving's over. I did those two things. And so it was just both of those were just great events that I look forward to every year.
Fantastic. Thank you. Commissioner Stovall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I likewise got to enjoy the livestock supper as well as Farm City Banquet. They are great events and thoroughly enjoyable. I also just want to let people know that I'm having a surgical procedure tomorrow. I'm having a right knee replaced, so I will not be mobile for a while. I have to have my family drive me around for a number of weeks. So if you don't see me around, that's the reason.
We're going to miss you in the Christmas parade.
Thank you.
We wish you the best in your surgery and certainly a rapid recovery.
Thank you.
So,
Amen. Amen.
Mr. Godwin?
Well, Christmas is upon our doorstep. I've worn my first Christmas tie today. But the great thing about Johnston County, as our dog lover here pointed out today, it's not only good for people, it's good for dogs, but it's community involvement. And there's going to be a whole lot of things going on during the Christmas season, especially parades starting tomorrow night. I think Selma's got the first one, and they'll be going through.
Cleveland does too.
Yep. And there's 4 going on this Saturday, I think. I would just urge everybody to be involved in their local community. Go out and support these parades. A lot of people put a lot of effort in those things, and it's what makes life good in a small town. Go out and support those activities.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner? Ms. Stevens?
Adrian stole my thunder a little bit ago, but I'm very excited that we are having the groundbreaking for the park off of Matthews Road for the regional park. So I'm very excited for the county as a whole. And again, just want to take a moment to invite everybody out to that at 10 o'clock for the groundbreaking on Friday. This Friday, again, the address is 444 Matthews Road. And then also just want to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Stovall and Commissioner Godwin said. You know, a lot of us are sitting in these seats because we got involved at some point in time, whether it was serving on a local board that was, you know, unique to our profession or just getting involved. I know I attended a lot of planning board meetings and watched a lot of commissioner meetings online before ever even stepping into this role. And to both of their points, you know, if I'm a big believer, and if you want to see change and you want to make something better, it starts with you. And so I urge everyone, you know, as we get ready to, I'm big in goal setting and planning, but as we get ready to set our goals for 2026, if getting involved in your community or getting involved in a civic manner is important to you, go ahead and reach out and start identifying what that looks like. I will say, just from personal experience, getting involved, volunteering, and giving back always comes back to you tenfold.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rose?
I wanted to go back and touch on a thing we voted on tonight or today, the Parks and Open Space Fund, and I just wanted to just let the public make sure they understand that this was an allocation of over $350,000, but this money didn't come out of their pocket. It came out of development's pocket, and it came out of a fund we call fee in lieu. And so whenever there's a new development that goes on, the developer has the option to set aside some land for open space, or they can pay into a fund so that it can be used at a later date. And so I just wanted to let everyone know how effective this is, and how and I've talked to some of the communities that are getting some of this money back, and they're really excited about what it's going to be able to bring to their community. but I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of where that money came from and how it's being used and how it's being allocated, and I applaud Adrian and his staff for making this happen.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. It's hard for me to get used to saying Vice Chairman Law.
Yeah, it's hard for me, and I'm not last to get in the talk. So
I can go ahead.
I'm not in my house, so I'm kind of used to that. Sorry, Kim. A couple things, and I think Commissioner Godwin hit on it, community. And we saw that at the Farm City banquet. We saw the agriculture community come together. It's always amazing to see those hardworking folks, and just the positive. They're outside in the cold and the rain. They've got to get their crop or whatever it is they're doing in. And the word I heard the most at the banquet was being positive. And so I want to say first thanks to all the folks in that industry. It's not an easy one. I enjoy all the hard work of what they do on a frequent basis. That's why I'm the shape I'm in. But I do want to say the parades, there are a lot of opportunities. And we've got the park opening up, which has already been mentioned a couple of times on there. I do want to say that, again, go back to 2019, which started with a vision of what this county might have and the quality of life that would add. And this board and previous boards being able to deliver results for the citizens of the county on that. The final thing I want to touch on, something that Commissioner Stovall mentioned, is board appointments. I've been on here 7 years, and I felt like that every board has picked the people who are best. Sometimes that's new people. Sometimes it's folks who've been on there for more than 2 terms. So I just wanted to say that. I think this board picks, and there are a lot of qualified people. Some boards we don't have enough applicants for the positions. But I do feel like the board has always picked the people who we feel at the time are best for those positions. That's all.
All right, thank you, sir. Just a few items on the Farm City banquet. I want to echo the part that a lot of people have already said. Each year I think about all the years I've been going to that, and the thing that comes to my mind is what a blessing it is to be surrounded with those people. They're just wonderful people, and they do such hard work and good work for the citizens. And again, we all enjoy it 3 times a day. But it's just a blessing to be a part of that event and to be around those folks. And we wish them the very best and are thankful to be a small part of it. The other part that I think about is we talk about things that may come to fruition in 2030, 2050, 50 years from now, 60 years from now. And it's really impressionable when you think about that, because we're doing things that are going to benefit people's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, perhaps. And so it's interesting when you think about that. It's easy to not have vision and say, well, gosh, we can't do that. But, you start with the first brick, and eventually you build something out of it, and it takes years to do that. But sometimes we plant trees that we never sit under the shade of ourselves, but somebody will somewhere down the road. And so I'm thankful for the vision of the board to continue moving in that direction. I also like to encourage everyone to enroll or subscribe to our newsletter. Our Public Information Department has done an extraordinary job. I think this next edition would be edition number 3. The first 2 have been very successful. They're very informative if you want a good way to get good factual information about what's going on with the county, and they even include a couple of pets that are up for adoption. And so it's just a good, meaningful way of getting good information from the county, and that enhances the things that we're already doing with the live stream and then our YouTube channel and all the other things that are going on. It's all about getting the information to the public and keeping the public involved in what's going on. So that being said, thank you to everyone for the meeting today, and thank you for your vote of confidence once again. And we do have a need for a closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go into closed session to consult with our attorney employed by the board to preserve attorney-client privilege pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3, and for the purpose of personnel discussions pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
All right. We have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, the board to go into closed session. There will be no decisions or no votes taken during this closed session. Well, all in favor, please let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The board will go into closed session as soon as we have an opportunity to clear the room. Thank you.